Lastly, we discuss about the hubs. So what are the features of the hubs? Hubs like a normal plug base, it passes the data which received, that means it passes all the data, incoming data for the devices which are connected to it. We call it as a broadcast. So hubs broadcast the incoming message for all the devices, even though required machine is not available in the network, it passes the message for all the devices. Okay, so think the message is sent for the computer A. So if the A machine is not available even, the incoming message passes for all the devices which are connected to the hub. So we call hub doesn't contain any intelligence. So it is suitable for only small network. It is not suitable for the large network because there's no any controlling. It broadcasts a signal for all the devices. We call it work as a repeater. So incoming message is passed for all the devices. So we call it as a repeater. So last day we drew this diagram how and computers are connected. That means there is one incoming port and it is sent for the other machine. That means multiple output ports are there. So then we discuss about broadcast, unicast, and multicast. So unicast means sending the message for particular targeting device. That means with the help of MAC address or IP address, send the data packets or message for the targeting device. But the multicast, it sends the data for a set of machines or set of devices, group of computers, but there may be some devices which are not receiving the data packets. Broadcast means transmit or send all the data. That means send the data for all the devices which are connected to the particular hub or switch. So broadcast means send the signal for all the devices. It may be a computer, it may be printer, scanner, whatever the device which are connected to the network will receive the data with the broadcast mechanism. So now we'll see these things I think we discussed. Unicast data is sent from one computer to another by including the unique address in recipient in the message itself. So targeting machine and PC or device will get the message in unicast. Multicast is send the same data for the selected group of computer. Then broadcast send messages that sending the message for large set of participants. That means all the devices which are connected to that to the network will get the message. Okay, so now you know the differences between multicast, unicast, and broadcast. So today we are moving to the bridge. Okay, and there's a most important thing. Up to 2017, we use the hub. So when you check the past papers, you may see hubs are most suitable for the LAN networks. But those questions were 2017, up to 2017. After 2017, that means 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, like these papers, latest one, we recommend to use the switch in the paper marking. We are giving the marks for the switches, not for the hub. Okay, so when you are checking the past papers, we are doing the past papers up to 2017, you can use the hub, but after 2017, you must use the switch. So if you get a question for LAN network using the connecting to LAN networks or something like that, so LAN network, within a LAN network, machine can communicate with the help of switches, not the hub. Okay, now update වෙලා තියෙන්නේ මේ 2018 පස්සේ හැම එකේදීම අපි hub තමයි hub වෙනුවට switches තමයි දැන් පාවිච්චි කරන්නේ. කලින් hub හොඳයි කියලා justify කරලා මේ use කරා. ලකුණුත් දුන්න 17ට කලින් යම්. මාකස් ස්කීම් බලද්දී ඔයගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙයි 17 හොඳම device එක hub එක කියලා තියෙනවා lab එකකට. But now we are using the switches. Right? Hub doesn't contain any intelligence. It passes the data for all the machines broadcast, but switches not like that. It sends the data signal for the particular device, if the device is not available, it is not going to send the data. මේ machine එකේ තියනවා නම් විතරයි මේ switch එක data pass කරන්නේ. hub එක නම් හැමෝටම දුන්නානේ. මෙහා එහෙම නැහැ. So now we are moving to the bridge. Now look at the diagram. You can see there are two labs. Okay. So those two labs are communicating with the help of bridge. That means each lab containing hub in this diagram. Okay, now we can use this of hub switch. Okay, so now look at bridge goes one step up the hub in that it looks at the destination of the packet before sending. Hubs passes the data for the device system, but bridge is not like that. When the data is receiving, it checks whether the receiving device destination is available within the network. That means passing net. If think one lab is A, the other one is B. If the data is passing from lab A, then assume this is A to B, and PC, we'll call this one to second PC. So when the data is coming from one side and before passing it, bridge check whether the targeting device is available. If it is not, bridges are not going to pass the data. යවන්න යන machine එක තියෙනවා නම් විතරයි data pass කරන්න bridge එකේ නැත්නම් යවන්නේ නැහැ. If the destination address not on the other side of the bridge, it will not transmit the data. A bridge only has one incoming and one outgoing port. There is one incoming port and one outgoing port. Therefore, we are using switches or hubs to connect other computers because one incoming and one outgoing port is available. So bridges are typically used to separate part of a network that do not need communicate regularly, but still need to be connected. So if we want to keep the connection between two labs, we are using bridge. But if we are not going to communicate regularly, that is the most suitable one. අපි හැම වෙලේම data passes කරන්න යන්නේ නැත්නම් bridges තමයි හොඳ. හැබැයි connection එක තියාගන්න. labs දෙක අතර connection එක තියාගන්න bridges පාවිච්චි කරනවා. හැබැයි හැම වෙලේම data pass කරන්න නැත්නම් regular පාවිච්චි වෙන්නේ නැත්නම්. Is this clear? So compare with the hub. Hub passes for the devices, broadcast the data, but bridges, once the data received, it checks whether the targeting device is available in the other side network. If it is available only, it passes the data signal. Okay? Then it is one step beyond the hub. So hubs, we can take hubs as layer 1 architecture. Layer 1 architecture means OSI reference model. We will discuss 7 layers. Okay, so later we will discuss this one, but anyhow I will discuss it here also. Look at the hubs are in the physical layer. Number 1, layer 1, down 1. Okay, hubs can pass us bits and that means zeros and ones, bits 1 and zeros. Example, physical layer we call cables, hubs. So hub doesn't contain any intelligence. It passes the data signal which received, and cables also same way. No intelligence. Hub doesn't contain any intelligence, but bridges, switches, check whether the targeting, that means sending recipient device is available or not. If it is available, only switches and bridges pass the data. Therefore, we call switches, bridges are belong to the data link layer. Then router. So router use the data packets. So routers are belongs to the network layer. We'll discuss this one by one, but you should know physical layer, hubs, cables, data link layer, bridges, switches. Just keep in mind those two. Okay. So how that bridges know the destination? with the help of physical address. We call it as MAC address. Physical address means NIC, Network Identification Card Number. So each NIC contains the physical address. Hammer machine එකම NIC network card එකට තියෙනවා physical address. So we take it as a MAC address. So that MAC, with the help of that MAC address, can passes the data. Okay. So switches, bridges are in the level 2 and hubs in the layer 1, that is physical layer. Okay. So now we were discussing the bridge. Okay. So shall we write this one? Copy down the diagram and the note. So the important one, the highlighted part, you better highlight that also. Now we are going to discuss about the switches. So now look at the switches diagram. There is incoming port and there are multiple outgoing ports. Switches contains multiple outgoing ports. Okay. When you get when you are going to discuss about the labs, normally standard communicating device we take as the switch. So switches can target the destination device and send that data packet for only for the particular device. අනිත් යවන්න නැතුව තනියම ඒ target device එකට විතරක් යවන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා switch. So switches are much more, that means comparing to the hubs, it is more standard. If the device is available, only that means if the device is available, passes the data packet for that particular machine, but other devices cannot get the message. අනිත් නොතේරෙන්න අර machine වල විතර data යවන්න පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා switch එකට. So switches use the MAC address to pass the data. Okay, so compare with the bridge. Bridge had only 2 ports, one incoming port and one outgoing port. When it comes to the switches, switches contain multiple outgoing ports. And it checks the targeting device is available. If it is available, send for that particular message only. If it is need, can broadcast as well. මෙයාට message එක හැමෝටම යවන්න කියලා machine ඔක්කොම shut down කරන්න කියලා lab network එකේ command එකක් දෙනවා. So in such situation, can send the shutdown command for all the machine. කියන broadcast කරන්න පුළුවන්. හැබැයි අර target machine එකට විතරක් අනිත් අයට නොදැනි secure message එකක් යවන්නත් switch එකට පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා. So we call switches use MAC address and can pass the data for the particular target machine. It is much more secure than the other one. Okay, so this is the CCNA symbol. The standard networking diagram symbol is this one. But for your exam, even though you draw small rectangle and write the switch, that also enough. හරි අපිට standard symbols ඕනේ නැහැ නිකන් කොටුවේ switch කියලා ලිව්වත් ඇති අපිට. Okay, so see how it connect hubs, switches, then hubs නෑ switch එකත් තව switch එකට connect වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay, now look at switch receive data in one of its incoming connection and forward data only if the destination is available. So if the destination available, it forwards the data. So switches use MAC address. In this ways, a switch is more intelligent than the hub. Why? Hub broadcasted for the devices, but switches check whether the targeting device this destination is available. If it is only, it passes the data. Okay, then switch sets up on bridges in that has multiple ports. So bridges also could be able to pass, but it had only 2 ports. So bridges we use to connect 2 labs together to communicate, but switches contain multiple ports. Therefore, we can use the switches to communicate 2 or more labs, as well as within the lab, we can communicate with the devices. Can lab එකක් තව lab එකක් එක්ක connect කරන switches පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේම lab එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන PCs lab එයාට connect වෙන්නත් පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්. So switches can be used to connect labs, that means subnets, as well as within the subnet, switches can send a message for all the PCs or targeting PC. තනියම යවන්න පුළුවන් එයාට වෙනම මේ shutdown command එකක් වගේ ඔක්කොටම broadcast කරලා එක වෙලාවේ lab එකේ තියෙන machine 60ක් තියෙනවා කියලා හිතන්න. So in such a situation, we are not going to shut down. So we send the message for all the PCs to shut it down. Then we have to switch off only the main switch. Right? So then we call it contain the multiple ports. This leads the increase in efficiency in that packets are not going computers that do not require them. If the data targeting machine is not available, it is not going to pass the message. The most large network uses switches rather than the hub to connect computers within the same subnet. So we can communicate machines within the subnet as well as subnet and subnet. Another lab and two or more labs can communicate with each other with the help of subnet, with the help of switches in the subnet. So when we compare the differences between hub, bridges, and switches, hubs working like a repeater, but bridges passes the data if the targeting device is available in the LAN network, and switches also same. It passes the data if the targeting device is available with the help of MAC address. Bridges and switches use the MAC address, and hub contain multiple ports. Bridge contains only 2 ports, one incoming and one outgoing port. Switches contain multiple ports for transmitting data, more than 2. Then, actually no need to write. Later I will take hub switches and bridge or hub switches and router together. Therefore, no need to write this one. I just explained about the differences. So hub belongs to the layer 1 architecture, physical layer. Switches and bridges belongs to the layer 2 architecture, that means data link layer. So switches contain some more features, like some switches can read the IP address. That means advanced features are there in the switches. Therefore, we take switches in the layer 3 also, layer 1 and layer 3. That means here, some switches can read the IP address. Okay. So in such situation, if the switches can read, not all, there are some latest one containing features of the router. Therefore, switches are in layer 2 as well as layer 3. Then eneva. Earlier we recommend switches must be in the data link layer, but later switches can that means containing the network layer architecture as well. Network layer features. IP address also can read. Therefore, we take switches in the layer 3 today. දැන් මේ කාලේ එන අලුත් ඒවල switches layer 2 features වගේම layer 3 features routing features උත් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි layer 3 එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා අපි කියනවා switches වලට. Now look at again, hubs belongs to the layer 1 physical layer. Bridge and switches belong to the data link layer, but there are some latest switches containing routing features. Therefore, some switches can belong to the layer 3 as well. So routers belongs to the layer 3. Do you know why I am explaining this one? After that today lesson, we are going to draw this chart. Okay. So if I explain this one, it will be easy for you to understand that day also. That means next week we will discuss this one. Okay. Then. Okay. Shall we write switches this note? And actually no need to memorize the switches symbol. Just draw the box and name it as switch. Then it this slide and this one. These two slides. Okay. Copy down this one. This one and this, copy it.